Hello everyone, this is Mark Seminating from Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and I'm here with Dave Loper from Clear Center, and we're going to cover another screencast today, this one on reports. Specifically, where do you find and create reports for ClearOS? What information can you see in those reports? And what types of automation can you use to view data on your system? All right, show us, Dave.
All right, thanks. So in the marketplace, there's an entire section dedicated to reports, but reports on ClearOS aren't just something that ClearOS does itself on the local box. So there is tighter integration with cloud services when it comes to reporting. So some of the things that I can see that are very system specific, we're going to go through a bunch of tabs. If you notice, I've got a bunch of tabs open. We're going to cover these quickly. So here's my bandwidth viewer. I'm looking at all of the different interfaces, my send and receive that's happening here. I can see I get a lot of traffic from, I've got traffic generating from the outside. Part of that is the report sending new data in and out about the reports. So it's kind of like a, a reciprocal type of a view. The next thing that we see is we've got a disk usage report, and this is really useful for seeing what type of, how my disk is being allocated. So the way this works is that each of these different directories you can see is a subdirectory. Imagine this middle bit is your root file system, right? This is the root here, and then I've got a user folder that's got 2.5 gig here. And if I click on it, now I'm inside that folder. And so you can track down if there's a big file on your system that somebody's put out there and you're trying to see who's filling up your disk. This is a great way to view that and track down where that file may be on your volume. And then clicking in the middle just takes you back. There's another report that's event and notification. So at the top of your screen, you'll see that there are different events that are registering. Here I've got on this system 1,190. That's quite a few. And if I go to the events viewers here, I can see that somebody's trying to get into my box through SSH. So this would tell me that I need to do something more to secure my SSH. So what I would do here, for example, as a consumer of this report, is I would say, okay, well, maybe I should run my SSH on a different port, or maybe I should make it so that I can only do key-based logins. Or I could also install tools like the intrusion prevention system or fail to ban in order to block these users that are trying to get in. So this allows you to acknowledge all of this stuff and clear the data. That's how you clear that out. You can also search by different types of events that are here. So this is really useful. If you notice, you got these check boxes onto the side. So if I want to see just the critical events to the system, I can see there's nothing critical. But I do have some warnings. These are the authentication failures, and I've got some that are just info related. So that's the events section, and like I said, it's integrated here. You're also going to see it integrated here into the dashboard. That's what this little widget is. It's tied into that app dashboard. All right. Next up, we have the log viewer. Now, the log viewer is going to give you the down and dirty view of the system from the standpoint of the logs. And as you can see here, we can pull in different types of logs that we want to look at. These are logs that are if you're familiar with Linux, these are the traditional logs that you have. Now, other than command line, you can use this tool to show the various different log files. And it will spit it out. What's nice about this is it has search tools built out. You can change the number of rows that you're going to display, and you can show full lines. So a lot of Linux administrators will have a good handle on how to view logs from command line, and you're welcome to do that. You're free to do that. This tool is so that you can give it to somebody who maybe is a novice at the command line, or that wants to be able to view it without having to log into SSH to view that. All right, next up we have the network report. So here we have some different interfaces on the network report. We're getting down into more granular view of what that looks like. And I can pull up a full report and see a lot more information about different transactions that happened, and a little bit more granular information on specific network cards that I have. The network visualizer is going to give us kind of a pie chart of consumption. So here you can track down the different users on your network that are consuming a lot of bandwidth. Here all of my consumption looks like it's happening on the outside. I don't have any machines set up on this box, so that's why that's there. You can choose the different interfaces. This would be my LAN interface. If I update it, it's going to show that there's not much behind there. Next up, we've got the process viewer. So the process viewer is going to show you the Linux processes that are running, and you can actually kill processes here. This is, if this is one of those that you want to use caution on, because you can kill the process that runs webconfig, which is interestingly enough called webconfig. And there's a system MySQL database that is also running that is dependent on it. But this is all about giving the user the power to do what they need to do in the tool. So you can go in and you can kill specific processes within this tool, especially ones that may be misbehaving. And so you can see what's misbehaving because you can sort by CPU or by memory. In the detailed view of this, I get a little bit more about the size and a little bit more information about who's running that process. All right, next up we've got the resource report. So this is showing us the load for the system. Now this is really important data because the load kind of tells you how under pressure your system is. And if you're getting above a 1 on the load, that's significant. That means that processor, that you've got a processor's worth of capping it out, right? And you're starting to push. So here we can see that I had a spike. So I was doing something at this time period that spiked me a little bit over 1. Capacity-wise, on this particular server, I'd want to be under 1. So here we've got memory, we've got swap space use. It will always show that your swap space is in a Linux system. Like if you went and did a mem test, it's a little bit deceiving because ClearOS and all versions of Linux typically will try to use as much space as possible. And so in some of the reports it looks like it's using it all the time. But this report actually breaks it into how much is free and how much is used. So this blue section here being really skinny, that's really good for our system. We're not running into problems. Here we've got uptime. This should always look like it is going up. And idle time shows us that for the most part, this system really isn't hitting its thresholds, right? So if these lines are converging or getting close together, then you know that you've got some resource management issues. All right, next up we've got the system report. This is just going to give you some overview of what we've got here on the system, what type of system it is. This is a microserver Gen 10, so you can see we've got the Opteron APU core in there. File system will show you the layout of your hard disks. All right, filter and proxy report. Now there's nothing to report here because I actually don't have the filter and proxy set up on this system. I'm using gateway.management. But if you had filter and proxy, you'd be able to see information that's here as far as that service. It's tied into that service. There's nothing to report here because we don't have it running yet. All right, lastly, the reports on the box itself aren't the only place that you're going to get information about your system. So you can log into your portal and start using the logins that you have here. So I've got this system here logged in with this account, and I can see I've got these different servers and these different licenses. So I can see kind of some information about my licensing here. So when you log into your portal, there's a lot of different neat tools that you can use to manage not only your single system but all of your systems that you have. And some of those items that are in here are actual reports. So one is you can get a kind of an overview of your account. You can also start sending out reports that you want. to a specific email. So I can put in an email address here. Say for instance that's my username. I want to have it sent there, and I want to send a carbon copy to the CEO of example.com. All right. So here we would send out weekly reports for this server to these users, and you can change it so that it's different for each individual server. So if you're a managed service provider, you're managing multiple accounts, you can send a weekly report out to your different users of your system so that they can kind of get an update of what quality you're providing, what services you're providing, and some of the things. So for example, what's going to show up in there, like if the server is able to find or block viruses on your network, those types of things.
Do they define the reports here?
The report is a canned report. That report can be customized, but that would be on a partnership basis, and you'd have to engage at a partnership level to customize that report. It's going to look like it's coming from ClearCenter, so we do have some people that have change up what the logos on it or how it appears, but that's a relationship thing that you'd have to set up.
Are those reports installed by default that you were showing?
The ones on the system?
Yeah.
So there are some reports that are installed by default, but a lot of these I had to add. So the process viewer, for example, is one that's on there by default, and I think the system report is on there as well. But some of these others you had to add, and you add those from the marketplace under, and you just pick the reports category. And let's see, anytime, clear that out. So you can see I clicked on pretty much install. I installed everything. There's a smart monitor. It's a paid app in the marketplace, for example, but that's another report that will basically watch your hard disks and let you know if they're failing or if they're in predictive failure.
So is there a core set of reports that you should look at, that you would advise?
I quite honestly, on a system that's in production, I install all of them. It's not a super heavy load for reports to run, so I like to having the benefit of all of them and having some data that is historical. Some of them gather historical data, and so it's better to have it than when you need it, rather than not having it and saying, well, I have to wait for a couple of days to get anything meaningful out of this.
And as far as the portal is concerned, the reporting that happens out on the portal itself, what kinds of things would they need to set up in advance or to be able to start seeing reports with the portal, or is it just a matter of it's there and they just need to go in and take a look at it?
Well, all of the reports that I showed you that are in the ClearOS marketplace, those are very much self-contained. As far as the weekly reports, you'll want to set that up on a per system basis, and that's going to give a summary of a bunch of this other information. There are other services as well in that portal that generate reporting type data. So as you add different things in the portal, those things can show up in those types of reports.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Dave. So we went through the reports here today and where you can find them in the ClearOS marketplace, what types of information you can receive, and we covered the types of automation that you can use to view the details on your system. Thanks, Dave.
All right, thanks, Mark.